So, what if virtual reality could do more than just virtual reality? What if virtual reality could do virtual non reality or virtual unreality? Virtually experiencing the unreal or the impossible. And I don't just mean virtual fiction, I mean impossible. What if you could use VR to virtually experience non Euclidean space? Or you could use VR to experience four-dimensional space? What if you could use VR to experience a universe where parallel lines actually cross each other? A world where a square can have fewer than four corners and whose degrees don't equal 360. Or a world where the circumference of a circle does not equal pi times the diameter. A world of impossible geometry. Or what if we could put on our three-dimensional headset and go to a world where we can navigate through four-dimensional space? You see, virtual reality can be more than just virtual reality. It can be more than just virtual fiction. Virtual reality can show us what it's like to exist in an impossible universe. Or the way I like to think about it, not an impossible universe, a universe that's merely out of reach of our normal three-dimensional perception. So I'm going to show you several examples of this, but first, let's just start at the beginning. Let's start with an example of classic virtual reality. Classic virtual reality is usually something like this. And an immersive world where you get to experience a historical event, such as the sinking of the Titanic. So this is a fun world. I was actually shown this world by a couple friends the other day. We were able to put on a headset and board the Titanic on its maiden voyage. We were able to see the Great Hall and tour some of the rooms and look around, and we were even able to go up to the bow and see the actual moment that the iceberg was struck by the ship. At this point, we were able to run around in panic for a while, and then we were able to push past all of the women and children and save ourselves by grabbing one of the limited numbers of lifeboats. So from there, we were able to listen to the screaming as the Titanic broke apart and sank below to its watery grave. The only thing left to do at that point was wait for the Carpathia to come and save us. Cool, right? Virtually experiencing a real event. But what about virtually experiencing an impossible reality? And by impossible, I don't just mean a fictional event. What about this world called Hyperbolica? Hyperbolica is a game that I found on Steam. In Hyperbolica, we start out in a classroom where we have to relearn the laws of geometry and space as we know it. We're shown a reality where the laws of spatial physics are unreal. Some use the term as non-euclidean geometry. The author Lovecraft shows us some of these concepts in some of his works, such as The Call of Cthulhu. Though I don't think the term is being accurately used here in Hyperbolica, but for lack of a better term, let's just roll with it. I'm going to call it non-Euclidean spatial physics. You can pick me apart on this in the comments if you like. Hyperbolica shows us an immersive 3D virtual reality headset world where the laws of physics have been deliberately altered to where parallel lines can actually cross, squares can have fewer than four corners and not equal 360 degrees, and the circumference of a circle does not always have to be pi times the diameter. And not only are we shown this world, but we're able to put on a headset and navigate through it, which I have to say is kind of bizarre. The game starts us out in a training session where we learn how to navigate through a very unfamiliar geometrical space. Take a look at this world. It seems really small, right? But that's only because our spatial understanding is so messed up. This world is actually huge. It's really easy to get lost in here. Take a look at this. When I jump up and down on this trampoline, things in the distance remain the same. The horizon does not expand the higher I go up, the way it should. But if I move around even a little bit at ground level, it opens up fast. And we start finding out that this world is much larger than it looks. This is a strange way to experience three-dimensional space, and a couple of times I did feel a little bit nauseous. Hyperbolica starts us out in the classroom and then gives us a set of quests that we have to achieve, which leads us along to cover various concepts that you have to learn in order to move on to the next quest. It's offered in both 2D desktop mode as well as 3D headset mode. I tried both, and let me tell you, the desktop mode is not especially impressive. You really have to put on the headset to get the full effect out of this one. So after some time in Hyperbolica and headset mode, you do start getting used to reacting within a three-dimensional space in ways that you're really not used to. But what about other worlds? What about pocket dimensions? So pocket dimensions are probably the easiest ways to trick us, but this world takes it to a new level. Here in this world, I can see myself mirrored in the dollhouse as I look at myself looking at myself in the dollhouse. And then I can look up and see myself above looking down and another one above them and so on. It's like an infinite mirror effect but in 3D. It's pretty cool, but it's still kind of tame. But let's talk about actual four-dimensional space. And just to define a few terms before we go on, by fourth dimension, I'm not including time. By fourth dimension, I mean spatial dimensions that exist beyond the three spatial dimensions that we know. How can we perceive that? Well, the creators of this world take a shot at it. The concept of the hypercube or the hypertetrahedron is covered. But that's still just visualizing it, from the outside. Show me worlds where I can walk through it. Show me worlds where I can put on a headset and navigate through hyperdimensional space. Well, this world takes a shot at it. This world is actually quite difficult to navigate through, but very impressive. I can see new directions come and go as I maneuver around. So is this what it's like? And here's another world where impossible directions open up the further you go. It's really easy to lose your way in this world also. But here's another world that tries the same thing but in a different way. I think this world does a really good job at showing the concept. In this world, directions open up the further you go, directions that didn't exist before, but not only do directions open up, but the space changes shape as you go as well. I think the creators of this world are really onto something here. This is a fun world to navigate through, a bit of a mind bender, but you do get used to it, and with a little bit of time, you can actually start finding your way around. But are any of these worlds actually showing us four-dimensional space in 3D? No, not really. Not any more than drawing a cube on a piece of paper is showing us 3D. The cube drawing is a good representation of three-dimensional space on a flat paper, but that's all it is. And I think that's what these worlds are hinting at too, a representation of hyperdimensional space, but that's really all. Will virtual reality ever reach a point where it can show us what it's like to move through spatial dimensions beyond the three that we know? I think maybe it will. I think that the future of virtual reality is going to be more than just virtual reality. When thinking about the future of VR, I can't help but think of that famous Henry Ford quote, which was, "If I had asked the people what they wanted, they would have said they wanted a faster horse." Another way to think about that is this other quote. If a starving man who eats nothing more than one bowl of gruel per day is given a wish, he'll likely only wish for twice as much gruel. What about VR users? Are VR users similarly short-sighted? What potential improvements and breakthroughs await those who put on the headset? Well, perhaps they're breakthroughs that we aren't even aware are possible yet. Maybe improvements in virtual reality will not just be improvements that make it more real. Maybe the biggest breakthroughs in VR platforms will be those that transcend the real. Worlds like these may be just the beginning. Worlds that use non-Euclidean geometry to create impossible three-dimensional space, or worlds that extend beyond the known three dimensions to give us a slight glance into what hyperdimensional space might look like. Or perhaps the future of VR will show us new types of worlds defined by concepts that we can't even understand yet, let alone anticipate. I don't know. What do you think? Drop a comment below. In the meantime, I want to thank you for joining me. I am Kinetic, and I'll see you next time.